creative director. How does one get creative in Augusta, Georgia?
How does one? You create your own opportunities. You don't wait on people to do stuff for you.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, you just don't. I've never been that kind of person. I never will be that kind of person. If I want to do something, I'm going to do it. That's like my whole being is doing mentality. I always quote that all the time, and it's just like, in order to be something, you have to do something. Who's holding you back from doing anything?
Okay, hold on. See, hold on. Because sometimes like we get guests, like even like Libra, we get guests and like they answer questions too well. So like I got the being is doing. I was gonna have a second where I just ask about all your hashtags, but she just put it in like
because that's who I am. It ain't like me. It's just being is doing. Like so, point blank period.
All right. I'm gonna take that one out later. Okay, we good. We still good. We good. Now I wasn't expecting that. It's just funny. Like she just came out and did. That's what's up. So how do you direct creativity though? Like how does one do that?
So I think that when you learn your skill set, and you really honor and respect it, you can apply it to any particular craft. So kind of how I've become a creative director is that people know me for the details. Like there's a certain amount of level of care that I give details, and I love quality. So that can be applied to anything. And so people typically, when I get into a creative director role, it's people coming to me saying, hey, I have this thing and I want to apply that to it. And so it's just, pulling on different things. I have different skill sets. I illustrate, I write, different skill sets.
Yeah, because I think one time I was going to produce a Mo show, and I remember y'all had a meeting, and I guess that's probably what it was. She has an idea, you kind of just tell her this, that, and third. And I think that's dope too. That you even that we have somebody that you can go to.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people actually utilize it, but
actually quite a bit. I have people come to me all the time, and it's like, I have an idea. Can you help me with this? And I think the reason people do that is they see that I have ideas all the time, and I know how to bring them to fruition. And I think after you do that a couple of times, people realize, okay, she knows how to get stuff done. Like, let me go to her and ask her, how do I do this? And, I'm more than willing to help. And I think that makes a difference, too, is that sometimes you may have people who have that skill set, that ability to see a thing in its, like, smallest state and be able to bring it to fruition, but maybe they're not willing to share information. And I think that's a difference with me. I think people realize that she's going to tell you what it is, and she's going to help you as much as she can.
Well, so me and Slim, we had that kind of, not same, I won't say issue, but we kind of run into that a lot with podcasting. People will hit you up and ask you questions about podcasting or whatever. Yeah. And you notice quickly that they don't have, they want to do it, but they don't have no plan for it. They just think that you sit in front of a mic and you just talk. I don't know.
I eliminate a lot of that. Like, that doesn't happen with me just because I have a process for everything, and this is where that military stuff comes. Right. I got a process for everything. So you come to me with an idea, I'm going to send you through proper channels before we even have a conversation, because I believe time is valuable, right? My time as well as yours. And so if you're not at a certain place, we're going to find that out. So most of the time what happens is somebody comes to me. I actually had someone come to me yesterday. They sent me a question about something. And I said, okay, this is a type of issue where you become a client for me. So let me send you this questionnaire. You fill this out. I'll do my due diligence, review it, see if you're a perfect fit. If you are and I feel like it's something that I can help you execute on, then I'll take it on. If not, then I'll direct you to someone else.
That's real firm.
But that protects my energy, right? Because if I just open myself up to people just constantly dropping stuff off into me, it would, one, be hectic, and I would never be able to stop my processing of my brain, right? And then two, it might spill over into things that I'm working on and might, taint something and not keep it in its purest form because it's been influenced by something else. So I just have to protect that.
The good thing with that is, Slim, so now we know get questionnaires. I'm gonna start sending questionnaires out.
Yeah, and you just ask the basic things, right? You collect their information about who they are as an individual, and then you ask them things about their project, right? And if they can't answer questions, then you ain't ready for me. You're not ready to have a conversation. But if you can't answer these questions and it's something that I'm interested in and it's something that I can learn from, then yeah, I'll help you.
I just found that I get a phone request like I got one today, and he's like, "Yo, what's up?" And I already knows about pocket. I could just tell.
Yeah.
I already know.
And that's the thing too. You'll weed out the people that are really serious about it because they'll take the time to do the questionnaire. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've sent out a questionnaire and people never even fill it out or return it. But that protects me. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like your time is valuable. Right. There's so many things that you want to get done. You got to have some of those filters there to filter those types of people out. Can't help everybody.
You gonna say something, Slim?
Yeah, as soon as people start asking me about podcasting, or I think they about to ask me, I already got a video on YouTube called "How to Start a Podcast."
And that's how you do it.
You do that,
yeah. And then you do that too. You direct them to that. And one of the things I don't think people realize is that all of us have something valuable that we really know how to do, that people want to learn how to do. But if you set yourself up like that and those types of things like questionnaires and videos and stuff like that where the knowledge is accessible, you become a thought leader in that, right? And so then more people will come to you asking about that. But then there's time you can flip that and make money from it. Like, you got to know how to flip that.
I thought about that before because when I first started my first business, I had a cleaning business. I had a lot of people coming up to me asking me how to get a business license. Yeah. And they thought it was like a $500 or $1,000 thing. Yeah. And I was like, I should be a business consultant.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, once you've done a thing and you've really learned and invested your energy and time in that thing, all of that time and energy you invested to get that knowledge and information, it becomes valuable to the point where you can charge a person for it. There's someone out there willing to buy. I can't tell you how many times a lot of the brands I launch are experiments. It's just I've always kept that same theory, and it's like I just throw things out there to understand the people that are attracted to the things that I do, but also to figure out, okay, how valuable is this thing? How do I perceive it to be valuable, and then how do other people perceive it to be valuable? Like, you can always do that.
I want to ask about this real quick. I'm gonna just skip some. Right on receipt, because you mentioned that like you just experiment. Was that an experiment?
That was an experiment.
But that was good though. I think people really liked that.
I'm gonna bring it back. I'm gonna bring it back. So okay. If you don't know what read on receipt was, read on receipt was like my experiment to figure out, well, first it was from a pain point in my own life, right?
I was gonna say that it seemed very direct. I was like, damn.
It's a pain point in my life. Like, I'm doing that dating thing, right? And it's really hard. People are always making memes and all this kind of stuff, talking about how it's hard to date as a millennial because of technology, and how people just want to sit up and text you. They don't want to make a phone call. They don't want to really get out and like engage and have actual experiences with each other. And so from I think I've been single since 2015. So like from that time period, I've just been tracking different conversations that I've had with people, and just kind of like looking at that, dissecting it, trying to figure out like, what did they really mean when they said this? Did I perceive that correctly? Like, or was it me just taking the text message and like digging too deep, or like not like and just? I
love women, man.
But it was interesting because we all like think about things so differently, right? Like somebody could send you a set of emojis and you think it means one thing, but they think it means something totally different. And I think I wanted to shed light on that and show people that like how you perceive stuff might not necessarily be what that person intended. Right. And you can change the whole course of a relationship just by misinterpreting something that was sent to you.
And that's why I hate text messages.
It messes your whole day up.
And that's why I do too. And so I wanted to express that to some people. And some people ask me like, why did you name it Read on Receipts? And it's funny because like if you have iPhone and you're talking to somebody on iPhone, if they have those settings on when they've read the message, right? And so it's like sometimes we feel like as soon as I send a message, if I know you've read it, I should be getting a response.
That's me. That's me. If I see you 2:38,
right,
and you didn't send that to 3:00, I'm pissed. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah. So like it's like you expect it's some kind of gratification you get out of like you dropped everything you were doing to reply back to my message, and I'm like, yo, that's a whole mentality in itself. Yep. You know what I mean? So it's just that, just kind of dealing with digital communication, how difficult it is, and just giving people opportunity to see that it's not just you struggling with this. Like, we all trying to figure this out.
Right. I thought it was dope, and then honestly, like that, I don't know how many you put out, but I know the first one you put out, like it was just getting shared left and right, and everybody, it must have been like something everybody was going through or could relate to too, because. I thought it was dope. It was just funny to me.
I'm gonna bring it back. I gotta just figure out a way to do it so that it doesn't take so much time. Cause I was doing motion graphics. So literally, what you do is you put you build up a body of graphics in like Illustrator, then you transfer them over to a different format, and you kind of like create GIFs and stuff like that. And so it was just taking so much time. But I think I've got a way to do it so that it doesn't take as much time, and so I'm going to bring it back once I can.
With you, I mean, I'm glad I asked that first. So with you being a creative director, like, do you ever feel like since you're one, you shouldn't reach out to other creatives? Like, I'm just finding my own. I'm not going to reach out to nobody.
So
because I feel like you could have reached out to somebody with that one.
Well, so a lot of it is that I'm the type of person when I get an idea, I got to move on it. right?
Yeah, right then and there.
And I got to move on it. In some kind of way, I got to make some strides so that I know what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, because otherwise it's just going to be something that goes to the back burner so that I can work on other things. And I always want to spend my time in a way that is maximizing. It's getting the most out of it. So if I feel like I ain't getting the most out of my time spent in this, then I need to transition to something else. And so a lot of times when it comes to working with people, I think sometimes people don't have that same sense of urgency or priority. And so things can get lost. And I think, too, it's like everything that I come up with, even though it's an experiment, it's still my baby because it's a part of who I am. And it's just like, you ain't going to give your baby to everybody to do stuff with.
Yeah.
You know? But then when you build up a rapport and a relationship with people and you can trust that they will handle things with care, then it's like, okay, you can babysit for a little bit. But I just haven't met those people, and in every capacity, specifically in that one. Yeah. Where it's just like, I feel comfortable giving you this. Can you do something with it? And I think, too, one of the things about me is that when I start a project, best believes that I have an end goal for it. I don't ever do anything without knowing why I'm doing this thing. So with Read on Receipts, the goal for me is that I want to have some kind of contract, some kind of deal with a Netflix or, you know, at HBO or something like that where I can start a series.
Right.
I want a series. That's what I want from that.
But that sounds like, in reading it and watching it, I felt like it could have been one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, and that's how, like, when I start things, I kind of, like, I see what my end goal is. I reverse engineer back and say, okay, what steps can I take today to get to that goal? And so it was just like, once I realized it was taking so much time, too much time, and it didn't make sense, then I was like, okay, I got to put a pause on this, figure out some things, and then I can start it again.
Right. So, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I know I thought I know your answer already. What are you going to rate your creativity level?
On a scale of 1 to 10, how
being
do
the
I
best.
rate my creativity level?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That's an interesting question.
That's a very interesting question, because I'm like the most humble person ever.
Oh, boy.
And even in saying that, you don't sound humble when you say you're humble.
You know, she's about to say 10. She's about to say 10.
Yeah. No, honestly, you know what? I want to answer your question because you asked it, you know what I mean? But then I don't want to answer it because I can come off like a jerk, or I could just come off like I'm just being, confident. Like or I'm lying. Right? Because if I rate myself low, then it comes off as like, oh, she's just being too modest. But then if I rate myself high, it's like, oh, she's a jerk. She's a...
Nah, show them the sweatshirt. That's a dope sweatshirt you got on. That's a 10 right there.
That's a 10?
It's a 10.
Okay, so I think...
People don't make sweatshirts. When have I seen a sweatshirt? Like, from local, you know, from nobody.
Sweatshirts cost a lot, though.
I do. But
creative,
then,
man.
But see, it's...
Creative, man.
People's perception of stuff, too, can keep them from doing a thing all the time. And that might not necessarily be the case. So, in terms of rating myself, though, you know what? I'm going to be bold, and I'm going to say I'm 11.
I like that. That's dope. I like that.
And the only reason I'm doing that is because I think that in my creativity, I'm never being anybody else. I'm only being myself. And I think that it's just who God designed me to be. It's part of my, like, it's just my identity. Like, and I'm really firm in my identity. So I'm going to give myself an 11.
I feel that.
So I'm going to ask you about that now, matter of fact, too. You got the sweater on. So where did that come about, Augusta?
Okay, Augusta. So if you look at your gift, there's a hang tag on the T-shirt. And that kind of gives you the best summary that I can possibly give. I spent a bit of time writing that out. But basically what it says is that, Augusta...
You want me to read it?
Yeah, you can read it, actually. I think that would be helpful.
Something for us. Read from there?
Do you see the... Yeah.
Okay, something for us. You don't need this T-shirt. You want this T-shirt. And in a southern, small town-ish type of city that doesn't always love you back, the desire to wear her name across your chest can certainly be questioned with validity.
Yeah.
Read the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Preach, brother.
You want me to read it because I'm comfortable with my words here. I read it.
You read like Roy from the Joe Budden.
All right, here you go.
Chill out.
You don't need this shirt. You want this shirt. And in a southern, small townish type of city that doesn't always love you back, the desire to wear her name across your chest can certainly be questioned with validity. Nonetheless, my hope is that the quality justifies the price, and the concept to create something handcrafted by us and for us in Augusta starts a conversation that begins to reshape the way we see and speak of our community. She can only evolve and grow as much as the people who call her home. And there are more than enough of us willing to make the change we've always wanted to see. She is more than the Masters and even James Brown. She is a home to history, heritage, creativity, and influence. No one is coming to save her. We are already here. It's you and I together, us. And so that came from looking at her. Yeah.
Is it good? It's on the screen?
Yeah, right there.
All right, got the gray and black. Look, you can even see it really stitched on. It's not like something cheap. No disrespect nobody. It's not like a cheap thing in there. The hang tag even got. Come on now, like look at this. This is nobody doing this. And then I want to show them this, like the Pete. Like come on, man. Like
the bag.
Nobody doing this, bro. Look at this.
Seems like Christmas.
Good, man.
No, but that came from like growing up in Augusta City. Like one of the things is that kind of like how I explained, where I'm not from Augusta, but I was implanted here. I was imported here, if you will. And so being imported here, growing up, just hearing how people speak of the city is just like, to me, it infuriates me. Like, I don't see why people aren't passionate and upset about. Like, sometimes when you hear certain things, it's just like, I'll give you an example. So I moved away. I was gone for 10 years after I graduated from high school, and I moved back last year. And when I was preparing to move back, I reached out to a couple of people and was like, I'm coming back home. I'm going to move back home. And they were like, why? What would you come back for? And I'm like, why wouldn't I come back? And then I kind of sat with that for a minute, and I was just like, why would someone feel like me coming back was me losing something?
Yeah.
And then what does that say about you if you're still living there and you don't want me to come back? Like, what do you really think about your city, the place that you live, the place that you call home? And then for a lot of people, it's the place that raised you. That, all of your family are here. So it's just like, it was frustrating to me. And so coming back in that time period, I came back home right before the Masters. And so my dad is a huge golf fan, and he was, going to the Masters and stuff. He was like, do you want me to get you something, bring it back? And I was like, no, you know what? I don't really want anything this year. Because usually I get like a hat or something like that. Yeah. Like, I don't really want that. I don't want to keep... And so this is gonna sound crazy. So the people who own the Masters don't come for me, okay? I know y'all got lots of money, but this city is more than that. It really is, and that's why I love the name of this podcast, is because this city is more than the Masters. And if you really think about how the Masters kind of operates and functions, I think you would turn kind of a side eye to supporting any of the things that come from it. And the reason why I say that is because think about, who are invited to those events and how they're invited. People of color are invited, but how? To work it, right? Yep. Not as a guest. You're there to work. I think so much money comes into this city during that time period. Who sees that money? What community see that money? South Augusta surely doesn't see it.
Not right for a road.
Right, and that's so it's just like, I think it's one of those things that's very strategic. The city has built like a whole kind of influence and identity from that particular event. But I just think that the city is just much more than that. And so when I started to think about that, when he asked me that question, I told him no. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make something for myself. And so I started playing around with Augusta and that. And I was like, well, putting Augusta just, as it's spelled across the T-shirt just doesn't mean much. And then when I really started to dissect the letters, I caught the us in the center of it. And I had never really paid attention to that before. And so I was like, you know what? I want to make something for us in the Augusta area. And so that's where that kind of came from. And then it was like, we don't say Augusta. Yeah. It's Augusta. And so I was like, well, I got to switch that up a bit.
That's that number 11 creativity coming out. You know what I'm saying?
So that's kind of where that came from.
And how long you been doing that though? How long you been?
It started March, April-ish of last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it happened. I would have thought it and for a minute. The funny thing is, I made the first sweatshirt for myself just because I wanted something. I didn't want to buy, or my dad to go out and buy me something from the Masters. So I was like, let me just make me a sweatshirt or whatever. And so I wore that. I was sitting in Starbucks. I go to Starbucks probably like once or twice a week just to get out of the house to do work. And I was sitting in Starbucks, and a lady came up to me and she was like, I really love your sweatshirt. Where can I get one? And I was like, well, I made this and it's the only one. But I'm going to get back to you in a second. So I came, I sat down, I ran some numbers, and I was like, okay, I need to do X, Y, and Z, but let me post this somewhere else so I can see, what the response is. And so I posted it on Facebook, a picture of me sitting in Starbucks with the sweatshirt on, and it just flew. And I was like, yep, this is something I got to do.
I like that.
Me too.
I think what people should understand about that, if you want to learn anything from that whole situation, is that if you have a pain point and you create something around fixing that or contributing to a solution for that thing, I guarantee you there are tons of people sitting around you who have that same pain point. Yep. And it was literally just identifying an issue and finding people who had that same issue. And it was like, okay, here's your opportunity to wear Augusta across your shirt and take responsibility and have conversations where you hold people accountable. Part of that too is like, when you hear people say stuff bad about Augusta, you correct them, right? You don't just let it fly. You're supposed to correct them. And so that's why I wanted it to start conversations. And I think a lot of people have seen. I just saw that.
You did?
I did.
I was watching it yesterday, and I was like, Lil Wayne don't know nothing about Georgia. Lil Wayne was like, I went to the Masters, and I don't know where it's at. It's in one of them cities.
Yeah, somebody in the background had to tell him like it's
because Nori didn't either. Nori was like, "What is it, Savannah?"
Yeah, and it's like, no, it's Augusta.
That was Mac Main. Mac Main said Augusta.
Yeah, and it was just like. I just
seen on Facebook somebody said he shouted Augusta out. I guess they must have.
No, he didn't shout him out.
He didn't know what Augusta was.
He was talking about the Masters.
He was talking about the Masters specifically because he was saying that the Masters for a celebrity is an opportunity for you to get away from all of the things you deal with as a celebrity, like people coming up to you, asking questions, wanting to take pictures, all this kind of stuff, because you have to be quiet at the Masters.
Yeah.
And so he was like, people could see him and they could wave or whatever, but he got for himself an opportunity, to just be a normal person. And not have to deal with all the extra stuff, which is cool that he had that experience. But I just think that
kept it to himself.
Yeah, like
I ain't want to hear that.
And it's funny because but the thing I think that was most frustrating from that is that not necessarily that he didn't remember it was Augusta, but if you know Lil Wayne's career. In the very early stages when he was a teenager, where was he coming and performing and people were receiving him?
Yeah.
He was coming here. Remember when they used to have those, what was it, the Power Fest and all of that stuff?
Yeah,
he was coming here. And we were the ones who was like, the smaller cities in Georgia and outskirts of Atlanta was the ones who were supporting him. So it's just funny, like how you just forget, you know what I mean? Forget a city that you was coming to every other summer. So, I don't know, that's interesting.
What's your favorite, as far as the power you got, what's your favorite? Is it the sweatshirt? Is it the shirts? Is it the hats?
The sweatshirt, the gray and black one is the one that started it all. I think that's my favorite. Yeah.
And I know, I remember you were saying that y'all was going to do a different season, and and you couldn't buy summer stuff in the wintertime. Yeah.
So how I do it is that when I released the sweatshirts, I did it where, and this is that fear of missing out thing, just capitalizing off of psychology, and just understanding certain things. And this is what I mean by, like, if you understand certain things, you can apply it to everything. So, like, just understanding psychology and fear of missing out and how that all works as a strategy, it was like, okay, I'm going to only make 50 of these sweatshirts and sell them. And if you get it, you get it. You don't, you don't. And so when I did that, it created its own kind of buzz, and sweatshirts sold out. I think before that, I don't think people here who are making stuff realize you could do that here. I think, and that was one of the things that I wanted to change as well, is the perception of like what a consumer is in Augusta. Because there's people who have money to spend, disposable income that they're ready to spend, but you got to make something that they want. Right? And so it was like, I wanted to show people that Augusta does support its own. And they are willing to invest in your ideas and what it is you're making and all that kind of stuff, but you got to have a great presentation and make them feel like it's something worth having. And so when I did that, it was just like, I put that out there, and then I was like, okay, those 50 sold, and people they hit me up. I mean, people ridiculous. I could show you my DMs. It was ridiculous. People willing. The sweatshirt was $55. There were people who were willing to pay me like $100. A guy even hit me up and was like, I'll pay $250 for the sweatshirt, but I had already said I was only making $50. And so I turned him down.
Operate on the I said what I said basis.
I said what I said basis. So it's like, if I told you something, I have to honor that. And it's not because I want you to feel a type of way. It's because, one, I believe in loyalty. And first set of loyalty is to myself, to the words that come out of my mouth, because that's the most powerful thing that I have. So if I can't honor my own words, like, I don't expect you to trust me for nothing. And that was what that was about. It was like, taking an opportunity to build trust with the city, right? Because I had moved away for 10 years. I was just coming back. Some people didn't know who I was selling these sweatshirts. Some people still don't know it's me who was behind the brand.
I think at first you had like a logo, you had like a cartoon or I don't know something.
Yeah, just a cartoon image as me. So so a lot of people didn't even know it was me, and that was part of the point too. Is that you can make a thing and people don't even know. It's not about popularity. It was never about that. And it was funny because I did the magazine shoot for VPN or Carlton Clay. Yeah. And when I was at that shoot, people were like, "Oh, it's you who make those? I didn't know that." And it was funny. It was like, it wasn't, and I think one of them said to me, it was Doris who said it to me, Doris Stewart. He was like, the coolest thing I saw about your brand and how it kind of like blew up is that you didn't put it on the most popular people of Augusta, right? Or people who known for fashion or like that kind of thing. You just put it out there. Yeah. And people received it well because it was like you saw the everyday person in it. It was just a matter of if you could move fast enough to buy it, right? Right. And it wasn't about like, putting it in your hands because you're cool and everybody will see you in it and crave this. It had nothing to do with that.
That is strategic though.
Yeah.
Everything you did was
because
like
I wanted
smart
it to be, and I never promoted. So if you notice, I never promoted it. I never put out ads or anything like that. I never even put out pictures of the sweatshirts. The only pictures of the sweatshirts that have ever surfaced are people taking a picture in their sweatshirt themselves.
The consumers did everything for you.
They did everything for me. Yeah. And that's what I wanted people to see is that if you make something that people really want, they'll do all of that for you. They'll share it with whomever. They'll have the conversations that you need to market it, and you don't have to do anything. And I think that you get a certain level of trust and a certain level of people willing to invest in what you're doing when you do it organically like that. I think when you get all strategic and you got to do X, Y, and Z to launch something, I think that turns people away because they just feel like you're just trying to sell them something. But that's not what I was trying to do.
So just drop and move forward?
Drop and move forward.